time to cover the Golden Era unit for Season 8, the Modao Battalion. Before we do that, some big disclaimers. This information is from the preview event. It is not just subject to change, it will change. The Modao Battalion initially was a Heroic Era unit that was changed to Golden Era. The PTR we got to play did not have the unit stats changed over yet, so the stats and leadership of the unit are not a proper reflection. On top of that, the localization also wasn't complete, so some names and descriptions will change for this unit. When this video goes up, the new season is live, so you can compare the real stats to the ones in this video to get an idea of how they will perform. You will also see a watermark over the screen with ID numbers. With that out of the way, let's get into the Modao Battalion. The Modao Battalion is a 5-star Golden Era unit. I do not have the leadership available, refer to the in-game leadership. The unit sports 4 different traits. Wall of Blades. The unit attacks can stop enemy cavalry for 1 second and also inflict 60% slow against them. Immovable. The Modao battalions have strict military discipline and will not fall into disarray when normally sent flying by enemies. This unit will simply be knocked back instead. While under the immovable effect, 50% damage taken from cavalry and lancers is converted to stable bleed damage. Fire resistant. The unit's armor is less vulnerable to thermal weapons than other units of the same era. Chang Dynasty. The leadership cost is reduced by 15 during Season 8. There are 2 formations for the Modao. 3 ranks has them line up and greatly improves their ability to deal with charging attacks. Trapezoid formation spreads them out into a wedge-style formation to help deal with concentrated attacks from the front. There are 3 unit orders available. Modao Advance. The unit immediately enters battle formation and focuses on defending against the enemy. This is in essence a brace that is excellent for taking a charge. Modao March. Upon hearing the order, the unit immediately launches a forward attack, dazing nearby enemies and knocking them back, while stabbing enemies that are farther away. If unable to attack enemies, the unit's movement speed will increase for a short period as they move towards the enemy. This has a very short cooldown and should be spammed. Carnage. The unit holds their blades in front of them and sprints in a designated direction. Upon encountering an enemy, they slash as hard as they can. There are 2 Veterancy lines for the Modao Battalion. Before either is a 3% increase to health. The top line has a focus on damage and their unit orders. Some notable boons are the damage increases, increase to damage against cavalry, also the cooldown reduction to Carnage. The bottom line is a focus on defense and survivability. It is full of defense, resistance increases, and general all defense increases. It is very focused. Between the 2, I only got around to testing the top line. Since the stats are going to be adjusted, it is hard to tell how they will all scale, but my immediate impression is that the top line will be the line to go with, since they do some serious damage as we will see. I have put the stats on the screen for you to reference compared to the stats you see during release. As for Doctrines, they, like the other season units, seem to have a limited selection. I plan to run the Piercing Damage Doctrine, Assassination Doctrine, Breakthrough Doctrine, Siege Fighter Doctrine, and the Modao Doctrine 2. The Piercing Doctrine is just to buff the already strong Modao March. It does great damage for a very short 6-second cooldown. The rest are to increase the general damage, with the Modao Doctrine 2 increasing their time from 1 to 2 seconds for the immovable trait. Before we get into my thoughts, let's see what testing I got done. No doctrines or nodes were used for these matchups. Modao Battalion looks to be a very solid unit. This is even before we will see what in the end it will end up being. As long as the leadership doesn't end up being too high, I could easily see these being used. They either survive or melt any cavalry we match them against, with the exception of Monastics. Having them as part of a line will help stop cavalry charges. They do not match up well against infantry by themselves, but in a team where they can charge in, spam Modao March, and get out, they may end up proving very useful. Some notes to keep in mind are that the charge attacks last longer than you initially may think. They do a large swing, but get a couple more hits in before it is done, so give it time before you hit Modao March. Speaking of which, the March has a very short 6-second cooldown, so keep an eye on it and spam that ability. If you get a Warlord surrounded and hit the March, they will melt fairly quickly. This unit is one that I am very much looking forward to playing. I hope the leadership and changes they make will balance it out, because this first look is very promising. I hope this video got you excited for the Modao Battalion. Feel free to share your thoughts down below, or at a stream on my Twitch channel. With that, until next time, I'll see you on the battlefield. So we might be able to pop it before... Yep, let's say before we even get to it. Hi, Warden.